Welcome, everyone, to episode 49 of Hammer Time, the first one in October. We're doing this on the first day of free agency. As always, I am joined by my hard-hitting co-host, Alex. I was going to go somewhere. I was like, I don't want to repeat myself, so we'll just call you hard-hitting Alex.
That's perfect. You can call me Hey You. I'm just glad to be here with you.
Yeah. So you were on USFL this week.
I was.
How'd you enjoy that?
Oh, my gosh. What a treat. Coach Horton, great to have him on the show. Always good to catch up with you and Ace. Coach Horton's a pretty transparent guy. I really appreciated his insight. He was honest. And actually, our picks, I think, were pretty much in line with his. So maybe we're smarter than we look.
Except one. And that was a big free agent so far. One of the free agents that are out there. They went to the NFL, signed with Michigan Panthers. Ginda on the eve of free agency. Yeah. What's your take?
On Ginda?
On Ginda. Yeah. I know this is a Maulers show, but he was the defensive player of the year, so that's our division rival right now. So
yeah, I mean, when I saw him play, I was impressed just because he was always around the ball. Obviously the stats, the number of tackles, passed the eye test. I think, the stats that you brought for Tez when you started to dig a little deeper in terms of solo versus assist. I'm like you. I think we could have made an argument that Tez was probably the defensive player of the year. But, Ginda, physical. I enjoyed watching him play. And I had him ranked pretty high, too. So I can't really, I think I had him fourth, maybe.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I know you had him higher than me and Horton. I think I had him 6. But one of our biggest holes is that middle linebacker right now because we don't know the status of Tizino. So that's basically the only position on the defense that I'm kind of not worried about, but it is a hole right now. I know we have Dale Warren and, of course, Ruben.
Yep.
So as we head into free agency, that's one position to look at. Mm-hmm. Another one, obviously, is defensive tackle. There's some good names out there. Me and you did that a couple weeks ago. Yeah. There's some really good names. And then cornerbacks replace Mark Gilbert. You see any other holes that are pressing right now?
Defensively, that's it. And, I think we looked at we're pretty deep in the defensive backfill. One of the ones that you had, I think Toby Johnson was one that you were talking about from the Generals. It might be a nice fit up front for us, not knowing what Boogie and Olive are going to do. So, we have some guys coming back up front that we've already signed, but, that would be an interesting pickup for the middle, possibly. A few other big names there too. I guess Big John Adams down in Memphis still hadn't signed, has he?
Yeah, John Adkins, yeah.
Atkins, sorry. Yep.
And then, Henri Sandamore was my pick on that episode a couple weeks ago. He signed with New Orleans, so he's off the list. But like you said, there are some D tackles out there that you could.
Yep.
Obviously, the best thing is for Boogie and Oliva to come back because they already hit the ground running for year 3. Talking about defensive tackle, how about Jeremiah Farms, huh?
Hey, that was good news. I saw that. That made my weekend. I watched a little bit of the Patriots game today. Was running around the house. Yeah,
that was rough.
It was ugly, but I kept looking for him to get in. But no, that's great. Good for him. I mean, that's 2 Maulers now in the NFL on active rosters. So
yeah, I don't know if they're the leader, but they got to be close to the leader for active roster guys right now. So
that's great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Thrilled to see that.
What about offense? The offensive side. You see any free agents? Any pressing holes?
I don't know. Probably the best competition I've seen. It's been a little quiet, obviously. I think with a lot of the merger noise going on, could be expected. But, I know we gave some pretty strong plugs for possibly Mark Thompson in black and gold. And he's got a nice little back and forth going with Jamar on Twitter. It looks like those guys are in mid-season form already.
Yeah, man. Mark's never shy to put his comments out there, and either is Jamar. And obviously, the Gamblers have had the Stallions number a little bit. They've been able to beat them both years. Mm-hmm. They're the only franchise that can say that. And Mark carries. He loves those Twitter fingers. He gets going. So
he's pretty active. It's funny. I've talked about the numerous ways that you have enlightened me since we became friends. But one of the things that you told me was look out for Mark Thompson on Twitter. So when I started following him, like, this guy's pretty entertaining. He gets into a little bit of everything.
Yeah. It's not just USFL. It's NFL. Like when a team's down a running back, he'd be like, "You could have called me," and stuff like that. And then he is active in terms of like social issues and all that kind of. Like he's always busy on Twitter. So. Yeah. He's one of the better follows in the league, I would say.
I would say that too. Yeah, but I mean, it has been interesting because I know that, and of course with the 30th Cummins over the weekend, I know that doesn't necessarily prevent signings and announcing signees and whatnot. But that's a little weird. But again, I saw where the XFL's postponed or delayed their draft. And I think it is. People are just waiting to see sort of how this, shakes out. At least that's my sense. But it was a very, for as much noise as we had last week, it was pretty quiet this week, which kind of told me something for real is happening. They're starting to hammer things out. Lips are getting tight. We're just going to have to sit tight and see what happens.
What did you think about the statements? Did you read both statements, the USFL and the XFL?
Yeah, I did both of them. And, I know that I got caught up a little bit trying to read between the lines, Danny Garcia's tweets and whatnot, and what did that mean and all that. But, I think the biggest thing that I took away from those statements was that, number one, it feels like the USFL is probably negotiating with an upper hand. That's what it felt like, number one. And then number two, the statement about season 3 in the USFL really made me feel good in terms of like, we will play
regardless.
Right. We'll just see what happens. How about you?
Yeah.
What did you think? What was your take?
The USFL with the locations, I think that was big. That was telling. They said the 4 locations that obviously USFL, and then they shared even the XFL locations. And the biggest knock that the fans have had against USFL are the locations and not hub football. You see all the Twitter wars.
Oh, yeah.
The XFL fanboys are like, if they go to hubs, I'm out. All I could say is let the door hit you, because I want to see the Pittsburgh Maulers reach the year 7. You know what I mean? I don't care about if I can go to the game. Granted, I'm not as close to Pittsburgh as you are.
Right.
But like, it doesn't matter if there's fans in the stadium, as long as by year 7, year 8, and there's a history. And you pointed this out in USFL. The NFL took a while to get going. All those teams, like the Canton team, ironically, and all of those teams that just struggled to. I think they had a team in Sheboygan.
Yeah,
like they had teams everywhere. They struggled for a while to, and now we're in 2023, and money is a lot bigger. It's not as cheap as it was back then, where you just had to. Now you got to be like state of the art and all that kind of stuff. So I think I want to see the Maulers in year 7. I want to see them in 2030 rather than be able to sit in the stands in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. The guy that called that out actually was a good friend of mine, and we worked together. He was a football player at BYU for Lavelle Edwards, and he's a Hammer Time watcher. So I know he'll like this plug too. But he had called that out to me, and he said, "You think about the NFL and all the changes, and even the AFL and NFL merger and what that looked like, and it's just it takes a while. And the thing about the hub is, ideally, everybody would love to have their team in the home city. I'd love to be able to go out and dunk a basketball too, but that's not reality. The reality is the XFL lost $60 million. The USFL's model lends itself to a little bit more financial responsibility, and they got to give the league a chance to stick. That's the key. And I think we may, and again, here's what gets me though. All right. A lot of the buzz and a lot of the people that are complaining, the Battlehawk fans, the Defender fans, if it's a hub, I'm out. Why the hell do they care? They're going to have their home team is going to be in a hub. So go to your game on Saturday. And then when they have the other team that's a hub team on Sunday, don't go. But it's not like they still can't see their team play. So I'm not sure what the rub is with those guys, right?
My favorite is there's a few that are on there that are real loud, and they don't even attend games because they're in California. They don't even go to the Seattle. They don't go to Vegas. They don't go to any of the games. They just want to see. They want to hear that on TV. And I'm like, then just get your stereo going and just play crowd noise.
That's right.
And then you can watch the game if it bothers you that much. But if you're TV is the biggest driver of the success of the league.
Right.
That's just the reality of it.
Well, I saw another podcast. I guess I listened to it Friday, and I can't remember who it was, but they were talking about they were really pretty hard on the Maulers, saying that they didn't think the Maulers would be in Canton if there was a Canton team, they'd be rebranded, maybe the Ohio Maulers or whatever. And the guy said something I thought was just completely ignorant when he said, people aren't going to drive from Pittsburgh to Canton, so like it's across the world, 2 hours. You know, they're not going to drive and they're not going to invest in a hotel room and gas and this, that, and another when they could watch the Steelers play. And I'm like, when the hell did the Steelers start playing in the spring? I mean, that's just not even an argument. I mean, think before you talk. I mean, literally, you know, I drove out to Canton. It's 5 hours and 15 minutes, and it was a damn peaceful drive. I put a little Eagles on the stair, you know, had the sunroof back, little Eagles, listened to some talk radio, and hell, half the time I just looked out the window while I was driving. People, you know, look at college football fans, right? You bond with the team. Think about the people that are driving 4 or 5 hours or across the state, you know, to go see their team play. Give these teams a chance to build their own stars, build their own identities. Along those lines, and then I'll kick it back to you. The one thing that did bother me that I'm seeing, and I know it's just a rumor, but this sort of dispersal draft where they're going to have an open draft and repick the teams, I think that would be about the dumbest thing that they could possibly do.
Without a doubt.
But these teams now are getting good rivalries going. I mean, the thought of a USFL, XFL teams coming over and getting to finally put up or shut up, right, and play against each other. And you know, the Maulers going into St. Louis to play the Battlehawks, or somebody coming to Canton or Pittsburgh to play us. I mean, that's exciting. And the fans are already at each other's throats.
Yeah.
They got something special here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like baseball, right? For so many years, the American League before Interleague, I was an American League guy or a National League guy. I know I was a young kid when they started the Interleague, but like I remember my dad could not stand the National League style of the game. He just couldn't. He was a DH guy, even though he just always wanted, you know, the Red Sox, Yankees, that kind of stuff. He did not want to see St. Louis's pitcher bat in the ninth hole.
Right.
And it just like it. That's just the way it is. So there's going to be like kind of a league alliance. I'll pull for the Breakers going against the Roughnecks. The Roughnecks every single time.
Yep.
Now, if they're facing the Maulers, I'm not obviously Maulers are number one, but I'm saying I just feel like there's an allegiance to the USFL, and I think that would be fun, like you said, to have just those natural rivalries, just because the Rock and the Moose, you know what I mean? Like you could put them on the logos,
absolutely,
for the history. But
well, you know,
I'm excited of where
I am too. And in fairness, like I said, I love spring football, so I'm excited about that happening. And you know, watching the XFL, you know, before the season started. DC is relatively local to us. I said, all right, the Defenders, I'm in, right? So, you know, they had a great season. I watched all of their games. I hated the kickoff, but I had fun watching them all the way until they lost in the championship. And like I said, I want to see both leagues do well. But when it comes to quality of play, when it comes to just the whole operation, I felt like the USFL was a superior operation. I'll welcome the XFL teams in. I hope, you know, ideally, I'd like to see us keep 8 of ours and bring in 4 of theirs. Yeah. That would be perfect as far as I'm concerned. Don't know what that's going to look like. But as long as Moose is running the show and we adopt USFL rules, that's great. But at the end of the day, if spring football survives and if this makes it more viable, 100%, you know, I support it.
I want all 16 teams. To be honest, I'm kind of greedy here. I want all 16 teams and use the hub model. And hopefully you get the NFL to kind of like, I follow basketball pretty closely, and that's how the G League started. There was 3 franchises per each little G League in the NBA, and then eventually now there's every team, I think except one, has a G League organization, so they have guys where they can send down, like all the practice squad guys that sit on the practice squad and get future contracts. They would be able to come to a specific team, like the Steelers.
Right.
The Maulers would be able to come. They would be sent to the Maulers. The Maulers run the rest of the roster, but they're able to send 5 or 6 guys that are on their futures contract or whatever the limit is. I think that's the ultimate goal, and I think that would be awesome for the league.
I love the idea of 16 too. I guess the reason I didn't bring it, you know, 16 would be great, but I think everything I'm seeing is 10 or 12 or hearing, and I think 12 is probably, unfortunately, the reality. Number. But again, if you look at the teams that, you know, you take Vegas, probably the Vipers. I like being in Orlando, but you know, the thing about that spring football in Florida was so big and so wonderful back in the 80s. You know, you had the Orlando Renegades, you had the Jacksonville Bulls who were drawing 50,000 a game. You had the Bandits who were, you know, averaging 40-some-odd thousand all 3 years they were in the league. I don't know if you'll ever capture that again because the Tampa Bay Vipers didn't draw flies. The Orlando Apollos with the great Steve Spurrier didn't draw flies in the AAF. And I just wonder if Florida is a good spring market anymore for football.
Well, I think they have the stadium in Orlando. The XFL does.
Mm-hmm.
They're already selling tickets. They're selling them pretty good at a higher rate. What happens if you move the Vipers and become the Tampa Bay Bandits? And now they're in a hub with Orlando.
I'd take that.
And it's right there. You said, Moose said, or the league said that they were on hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
You bring that and you keep the 16. You get rid of Vegas, who is playing on a baseball field that was pretty rough.
Yeah.
And then Seattle, you just got to worry about Seattle. Maybe you move to Seattle with St. Louis for a year.
Yeah.
Until the league's able to, and then you keep the Seattle. And yes, it stinks for the fans on Seattle, but do you want to see the Seattle Sea Dragons in 2030? Like that, that's the ultimate goal.
Exactly.
We can go round and round on this one.
We could.
I think we're on the same page. I just want to hear news. I just want free agency. Man, I was so excited before all this hit. Like I was excited for the free agency. You remember that episode? Like I was ready. I was like, this is. I love being like that fake GM kind of stuff. And then the merger hits, and it's just like, okay, I'm hearing from players like they're a little unsure, so they don't want to commit. And then all of a sudden, your team's contracted, and you don't have a job. So they're kind of keeping their options open, and I completely understand it. I really do.
Coaches.
But coaches too. But.
The thing about it though, I got to tell you, you were like in a different element when we were going to that free agent show. You were like, I almost called you Zach Potter a couple of times, and I almost slipped. You were in GM mode.
Man, I'm wearing I'm not wearing any grade today. I'm not Zach Potter. Well, but now he could talk to any player in the league. So
yeah. Well, you can now, but I mean, when we were talking about it, I'm surprised you didn't grab your phone and, up there like that. But no, it's interesting. We'll see. I just got a feeling there are big names out there. Let's see what shakes out the next little bit. Nervous. I'm still nervous. I want this team to come back intact. I want the majority of our teams from the USFL to come back intact. And, that's my hope.
I think the saving grace for the Maulers specifically is that they are the closest team to Canton. They drew the best in Canton. And like I said, when I was driving up there, you said you drove 5 hours. I drove 14 to go see the Maulers in Canton, going through West Virginia and North Carolina, South Carolina, all the way from South Georgia. And yes, it was peaceful. Listen to a lot of sports talk radio, all that kind of stuff. But it was black and gold country. Like you go through there, and even though you're in Ohio, that eastern part of Ohio, there's still a representative of black and gold.
Yep.
I know there isn't a lot of brown and orange. Sorry. Yep. But I think the black and gold would work as long as it's their team. And if they rebrand it, yes, it stinks for Pittsburgh, but at the same time, like Canton's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like Canton, it's like a football Disney World the way they're building it up. So
yeah, great stadium, great facility, lots around it, and then you're in a football area too. I mean, that's big time football. People are hungry for it. So, I would like to see the Pittsburgh Maulers, if they can't play in Pittsburgh, play in Canton. There could be a chance that they rebrand as the Ohio Maulers or whatever. I would keep the name. I mean, a couple of these people are talking about, the Ohio Gold or something like that, because they have the gold jackets in the Hall of Fame. And I was like, can we just leave enough, alone? We've let these teams, they start to build. It's kind of like when Gonzaga. All right, now I'm gonna go off here for a second. I can't stand them. I don't like Gonzaga. I don't. They rub me wrong. They just got, I don't know. I never liked them. Probably going back to the Morrison days. But here's the thing with Gonzaga. It's like they've had really good basketball, but traditions have to build. They have to grow. It's like a nickname. You can't come up with a nickname for somebody. It has to be something about that person that makes the nickname stick. So they came up with their, it's like their marketing people got in a room and said, all right, guys, we have 5 minutes to come up with a tradition. Let's call our gym the Kennel. And it's like, that's not intimidating. I mean, it's like, what kind of junk is that? So I guess what I'm trying to say is we're the Maulers, right? We have a history that goes back to 84. We played in Canton this year. We played in the championship. It's a blue collar defense. It's tough. We're the best in the league on defense. That's who we are. Give it a chance to stick, right? Keep the logo, keep the colors. Don't screw around with it.
That works for me.
Sorry.
That works for me, man. That's a perfect way to wrap up this entire episode.
There you go.
Just keep it. We just want to see this staff and this roster come back. They got going in the second half of the season, all the way to the championship. One bad game. I don't want that to be the last game, and I just want to see the Maulers in next year and the year after. And I don't want to be on hiatus. I don't want to be a Bandits fan.
No, me either. But I want to see number 7 putting it through the uprights.
Yeah, there you go. You got the blue, and I was wondering if you were. Like, I was like, should I drag this on until you get the blue? Yeah. But you even got it in on USFL.
I was gonna say something about Pitt getting smoked last night. They're struggling. But no, I didn't want to. He's probably still upset about that, so I don't want to. Probably shouldn't have brought that up.
All right, we made it through another one. Dinner with Webb and Alex on Wednesdays, 5 p.m. I don't have a graphic today because I knew we were going to come on real quick. We didn't have graphics. I don't have that nice fancy graphic that says thank you, but I appreciate everyone watching. We've had great views over the last couple weeks.
Yeah, we have.
We're picking up steam, and tell your friends, tell everyone we are the only show in the world dedicated to the Pittsburgh Maulers. So
that's exactly right. Yeah, drop some comments down there too. We're actually getting some comments now. That's pretty good. So hopefully, maybe we said something to tick somebody off today and they'll leave a comment. That'd be great.
Yeah, if Mark Thompson, if you're watching, be in our comments. Jamar, you guys love being on social media. Just be in our comments. Help us out too.
Just do it here. Yeah, fight right here.
Exactly. Not everyone will see it as much as you could be a little bit quieter and you can say exactly what you want, and then we could build and you could build, and it's a friendship.
That's right. Love to see it.
All right. You want to say your bye first?
Yeah. Hey, listen, thanks for watching, and until next time, so long, everybody.
This has been Hammer Time. I'm Webb. That's Alex. Webb and Alex out.